want to talk about the 24th chapter of Matthew, verses 36 through 44. This is the first Sunday of what we call Advent. Advent simply means coming. We are preparing ourselves not only for remembering the God who came into human history in Jesus Christ, but we also are asking ourselves, is there a manger in our own life where the Christ can be born? I want to talk about something personal. I realize that preachers really are not supposed to talk about their own lives, but I want to share with you where I discovered hope. It was in West Flagler Park Baptist Church in Miami, Florida. Flannery O'Connor, the Southern writer, has talked about the Christ-haunted South. Maybe we could phrase it a different way. During the time that I was really a part of the church in Miami, the late 1950s and the early 1960s, there was kind of a Christian emphasis and ethos in the community. By no means was everybody a Christian, and by no means did everybody go to church. But it was a different feel in that time. People tended to gravitate to churches, and the churches were much fuller than most churches are today. I remember in that church, I discovered how hurtful a church can be. Isn't that interesting? I remember hearing people talk about things in ways that sometimes were cruel. But I also remember that there were people who talked about things that gave hope to people's lives. I believe I began to understand that the church is very much a mix of the good and the bad. And in the good side of the church that I saw, I came to know the hope that is found in the God who has given us God's face in Jesus Christ. Our church had a lot of disagreements about things. Maybe that was good that I discovered early on that my vocation as a minister was not going into a church where everybody was going to be on the same page and everybody was going to be singing the same song. In my home church, there were disagreements about lots of things. I remember there were some folks who were absolutely dedicated to the Scofield Reference Bible. These people said the world 2004 BC. How do you know when the world started? Well, the notes of C.I. Scofield, a 19th century New Testament scholar, were as infallible to these people as the text itself. I remember hearing different things about issues in the church, but in the midst of it all, what I discovered was what the church does best, and that is point us to the God who gives us life and strength in Jesus Christ. The text in the 24th chapter of Matthew is really about the second advent or the second coming of Jesus. I know that there are a lot of people who find their fundamental hope in waiting for Jesus to come again. A lot of speculation through the years about when Jesus was going to return. Books written, a lot of money made by people talking about the second coming of Jesus. And here we are. These people have made money and Jesus has not returned. I think we ought to listen to what this text has to say. The text says that no one knows when Jesus is coming again except the Father. How interesting. We worship a God, a triune God, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. But maybe this is the only case that I can see where only one part of the Trinity knows when the Son will return, the Father. And we spend all kinds of time speculating, wondering when the second coming will be. And my response to all of that is God, the Creator, who set things in motion in the beginning, will be the God who brings the curtain down on creation in the end. It is in the Father's hands. In fact, I believe the best way for us to prepare for the second coming of Jesus is to take seriously the first coming of Jesus. What Jesus taught us, what Jesus preached, what Jesus said was fundamental to life. For example, Jesus said that you and I are called into a personal, individual relationship with God in Jesus Christ. I recognize that there are some people today who really don't like the word evangel, even though it is a beautiful word in the New Testament. It means good news. It means that God has come to bring us into relationship with God's self. Perhaps the problem is that we haven't seen how dynamic this relationship is. We're not talking about a plan of salvation. We're not talking about just a static decision coming forward. We're talking about committing ourselves and all of our lives to the one who has given his life for us. It is, as Clarence Jordan said, it is a movement, not an institution. And the church will only be revived, Clarence Jordan said, when you and I understand that what we are about is not about just gathering together and just doing a few things in the name of Christ, but it is seeing ourselves as being a part of the great movement of God. As Paul Tillich said, our life is a journey without maps. We don't know what is going to face us. We don't know what difficulties will come our way. We don't know what issues that we will have to deal with. Probably some of you who are listening to me right now are dealing with sickness, with discouragement, with depression, with some problems in your life. And the church needs to say, this God calls us into a personal relationship with God, and therefore God gives us the strength for this journey we make with him. But not only is the gospel a personal relationship, we not only are called to be transformed by Christ, we are called to be transformers in our society. Jesus was concerned about the widow who lost one coin, but Jesus was also concerned about those who didn't have very much, those who were hungry. And we live in a time when there are so many needs in our world. How tragic it is we have to deal with racism and anti-Semitism and all of those kinds of things now. When you and I come to be transformed by Jesus, then we become transformers in the world. What I suggest for myself and maybe for you is that we sit down, we look at ourselves, we look at our church, and we ask ourselves, what better can we do to make this not just an institution, but make this a powerful movement of God? I learned hope when I was growing up in church. I hold on to that hope, and that hope holds on to me. I hope that hope is holding on to you.